Live from New York, it's SS Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask an Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, the engineer. With me is Mr. Lady Ada on camera control and also helping out with this show. We just got done with show and tell. It was amazing. We'll chat about that in a minute. But for the next hour, we're going to be showing off videos of new products and NPIs and guides and some news and videos and gifts and more. And it goes on and on. So let's kick right into it. What's on tonight's show, Mr. Lady?
Tonight's show, the code is CanFeather. You get 10% off the Native Restore all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, or whenever you remember to turn the code off. Anything in stock. Use it or lose it tonight. Save a buck or two, and also support a cool open source hard work company. 100% woman owned, VC and loan free. We're doing this in New York. We got some bills we need to pay and some skills that we want to pay people to do too. Adafruit Live, we just did a bunch of our live shows, including Show and Tell. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Do a little bit of recap from the desk of LadyAda, including Great Search, which we do every Sunday. JP's product pick of the week. We'll do a little bit of time traveling. Some retro tech. It's not really retro tech, sort of kind. Well, it is. No, it's older. It's an older thing. We'll show that off. Do a little bit of advanced manufacturing made in New York City. Some 3D printing. We got Ion MPI. Top secret, new products. We'll answer your questions. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. That's where we answer all the questions because we got a bunch of streaming going on. It makes it easy for us to find it there. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Yay!
Okay, so let's pay some bills. Codes can feather. What do folks get as they add stuff to their cart?
I'm glad you asked. We still have some freebies. We've got $99 or more. The Perma Proto half-size breadboard, great for taking your breadboard project and making it permanent. We'll do this for a little bit longer, and then we're going to probably change out to some other freebie. But for now, that's what we got. 149 or more. You got the KB 2040, but now it's an Adafruit black. We had the pink version for quite a bit, but we wanted to get back to our roots, so it's back to black as some may say. In 199 or more, we have free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States, and we don't have any circuit playgrounds, so there's no other
That's it.
freebie. That's it for now. But as soon as we get more circuit playgrounds, we'll add the 299 freebie back.
Okay, we do a bunch of live shows, Lydia,
Mm.
including Show and Tell, which we just did right now. Lots of cool stuff this week. Jay stopped by from DigiKey, new glasses. Ann stopped by with the floppy jewelry project that she learned how to make. We'll talk about that on um, the Learn
Yeah,
the Learn guides.
yeah. Also, last week because we were on dual duty, I didn't get through all the guides. We're gonna do a little bit longer guide
Yeah,
because we didn't do the video synth guide. We didn't
yeah.
chat about it a couple of weeks ago.
Scott came by, working on a lot of cool new stuff.
I totally nerd him. He was like, I don't know what to work on. And I'm like, I got something. And
Yeah,
he's like, oh no, I'm in his
JP showed off
home.
some synth stuff. Jepler showed off an older project. Pedro showed off this really neat wearable. Noe showed off this case for the USB
We have
host
the Star
project.
Trek and the Star Wars
And
family.
I'm not supposed to pick favorite project. However, check out Brendan's work with being able to silk screen on top of PCBs
Very cool.
with colored inks that still will go through
Yeah, it's a
the
great.
oven, the reflow oven
Yeah,
process.
very cool.
So it was really neat. I remember when we saw some printers, the UV printers that would print ink.
Uh-huh.
It's okay, but it's like it's really it burns off, and also like
Expensive.
it's expensive, and it's like basically no one can do it. And so that's why you don't see a lot of it. And this is a really neat way to have really colorful PCBs that are still functional. So
Yeah.
okay. On Sundays, we do from the desk of Lady Ada. This week, part one. What was on your desk?
Okay. I'm working on getting through a whole pile of stuff that was designed during some chip shortages and didn't get to. So this NeoPixel I2C driver to let you control NeoPixels from chips that don't have NeoPixel support. You pipe the data over I2C. I also have a little joystick gamepad controller also that uses stemma, so just those two boards. And I show, how I design and how I program it. We also talked about MicroPython history. They hit a 10-year
Yeah,
anniversary. We'll
we'll
get to
be
that.
talking about that in our Python on hardware section this week.
Yeah. And
Yeah, then we do the great search. This is when LadyAda uses her power of engineering to help you find things on digikey.com. What was on the great search this week?
This week, we were talking about RP 2040 and how I'm designing so many feathers with it, and I realized we actually never covered how to find all the different varieties of RP 2040 boards and chips on DigiKey. So you can get chips; they're in stock at DigiKey, and they're cheap. They're only 70 cents a piece, a very good deal. That's basically like wholesale price. And if you want to have a ready to go board, of course, Adafruit has stuff available at DigiKey, but you can also pick up the RP 2040 Pico and Pico H, which come in pick and place reels. So you can actually place them directly onto a circuit board. So I talk a little bit about the layout, what things to look out for with castellated pads and such. And also they have the Pico with header, and I found a socket that you can use to plug that into your board, so you don't just solder it directly. You just plug it into your PCB, so it's replaceable, not soldered in place, like the castellated pad version.
All right. And then other live show highlights from this week. JP does a product pick of the week, broadcast live from the product page. Here's this week's highlight.
Quick. That's my product pick of the week this week. It is the Cutie Pie ESP32 Pico. You can code it with our Whippersnapper firmware, which means there's really no coding at all. I've got the Cutie Pie ESP32 Pico. It is plugged in over USB, in this case just for power. This is paired to a Wi-Fi router. This is plugged into the little control pins on one of these smart outlets. And I have that running to a little spotlight. Keep an eye on the spotlight here. Just clicked my Adafruit I/O on off. That is essentially just toggling a pin high and low. So I've got ground and a digital pin, what is it, D13 here plugged in. That is controlling the relay on this AC power tail that I have there. That is my product pick of the week this week. It is the Cutie Pie ESP32 Pico.
All right, and catch JP's workshop tomorrow, and then we also have Deep Dive with Tim on Fridays. All right, it's time travel time.
Gonna go back in time. Gonna go back in time.
So this week, a couple things that are going on our website. Please check out our blog. This is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. You can learn about this on the website that they have specifically for this, but you can also, when we go to our website, so just like every month when there's like, which group of people can we celebrate that folks maybe aren't in the spotlight all the time? So you can see not only our posts from this year, scientists, engineers, artists, and more, but from previous years as well. Lots and 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 lots of people celebrate. So check that out. And if there's someone you know that we should put in the spotlight, let us know and get it up on our blog. Some open source news. We made a little video celebrating 300 new redesigns, and then first it was a still, and then we made a little video. So here it is, celebrating 300 redesigns, all open source hardware. This is maybe the trailer for our movie. We'll see if we turn into a movie. So that was a big deal for us, and all the ones that we redesigned we're submitting, of course, to the Open Source Hardware Association for certifications. Because speaking of, the Open Hardware Summit was this weekend, and for the first time in 3 years, we had guests. We did a tour.
Listeners.
Yeah, Steph emailed and said, "Hey, like, could some of us come by?" And I'm like, "Man." And she was like, "Hey, I know you probably can't do it. You just had a kid and all this stuff, but I figured I'd ask." And I'm like, "You know what? I shall endeavor to figure out a way to make this happen." So we had like 15 people, and they came by. And what was neat is a lot of the folks that were visiting, they were from really far away. They're from Australia, around the world, and they're people that sell their stuff to us, and then we resell it. And they were able to go down the aisles of Adafruit and like film where it is and everything. So we were able to do a complete tour. Worked out really well. Crazy rainy day. Got to try out a stroller with a rain thing. That was kind of fun for me and our kiddo. But they also came by and gave us these gifts. These are some of the things that they make. So, Lamar, do you want to say what some of these are?
Yes, I'll say I'm afraid I don't remember who gave me each one, but the first one was just a little badge with a battery. The second one was a cool butterfly
Yeah.
with LEDs. It was a pin badge that was like a brooch. It had beautiful LEDs. This is a battery charger, but it's got like a little Pikachu. It's a yellow PCB. You can see they marked it with with marker to make the
Yeah.
silk screen, and then there's the solder mask. Oh, can you go back one?
Yeah, sure.
The solder mask is missing over the cheeks, and there's like a little LED behind it. So when you're charging the battery, the cheeks glow red. So it's like a little Pikachu. So it's cute. And then this is from Maker Queen Steph Piper, who we carry a bunch of her stuff.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. She does amazing silk screen, by the way, just like top notch, the best, the most beautiful PCBs.
So that was really neat. I got a chance to meet Leborg, David from Make, just a lot of folks that I've corresponded for years now online.
And they were all so nice.
Everybody's so nice. It was really nice to get together. It felt normal. It felt like, hey, we're kind of getting back to seeing people. So we'll see if we could do tours again. This worked out really well. Special thanks to Steph to organize this, because I would have not been able to figure out a way to get 15 people on time at the same place.
She was very organized.
Yes. Okay, let's do some retro. Yeah.
Hi.
It's retro tech time. What was your question?
No, because you had that.
I already played it.
Oh, you
played it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we couldn't hear it because it's a little do feedback on the mic.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry, this isn't live. No, it is live. So retro tech this week. We had a little funny music clip that we played for the time travel section. Anyways.
I can't hear that.
Yeah, because we.
I mean, I heard it all day.
I was working on it. It was important. It was important to me.
It was.
Yeah.
I did it.
I'll play it again after this. So retro tech this week. This one's a little different because it's not the usual like, oh, here's like an Amiga or here at Commodore 64. This is just something that I happen to like, but it has a somewhat kind of dismal. Pretty much everything I like has a dark side to it. But so this is a clear TV, and I'll remove us for a second, and it allows you to see on the inside of the television and how it works.
Cool
And
yoke.
and it has no remote. You have to plug headphones into it. It has the RF thing in the back. You can see directly into it. Reminds me of those iMacs when they first came out, that you could see into.
It's the saddest iMac.
Yeah, and it's called the Secure View, and I'll get to that in a second. The reason I have one of these is I'm building a game area for our kid. She's very young, but we got to start them early. And the idea is we start her off on like Atari and then work our way up to modern game systems. But I thought it'd be neat to see how the innards of a television work. Now, the downside of this is you're probably wondering, well, where are these? Where do they come from? So this is where you can buy something like it. Let me hit refresh. I think the site kind of. So this is the more modern one. This is called, it's a Secure View Clear Television. They're for prisons, so you don't have any drugs in them or weapons or anything. And this new one, the Secure View Clear Television, has like every input possible. So
despite it being like it totally sucks,
it does have better.
It has RF input.
Yeah, it does have better features than like our TV that we have.
It has VGA and HDMI. It has composite. And
you can see into it. Look at
NTSC. It has every possible video input. SCART. So it's sad, but it's also like we're doing some video hacking. We had like a weird device that had RF output. It doesn't even have it. NTSC didn't exist yet, or PAL.
Yeah.
It was expected to connect through to the antenna. To pass the antenna through so you could have it into a TV like your old Nintendo, and it was like, I don't have a modulator, and he was like, oh wait, this TV has an RF input.
Yeah, and it's just they're really beautiful, but the sad part about it is it's for prisons. So you can pick up these older ones that just have RF in on eBay or like auctions or whatever, and then there's more modern ones that you can get from like jailsupply.com. But that's this week's retro tech. Okay, and then I'll play. So we made a new intro. I've been wanting to add a musical intro for the time travel section.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play this now. In case I missed it before.
Gonna go back in time. Gonna go back in time.
See if anyone knows what that's from. Because it's multi-layered. There's a couple different references to that. Let's do some Python on hardware. Okay, Python on hardware this week in the newsletter. We are celebrating MicroPython new release
More than 20.
and
And
I think
jail supplies.
yeah, I think my browser is like completely filled. Like it's just like I'm just not gonna cooperate. So there's a new version, and then of course happy birthday. We're gonna talk about that in just a second. But this is the new version. We'll be doing our part to grab the things that are added so we can keep up with all the changes. And then I think the Raspberry Pi Pico W is now supported with Wi-Fi. That's kind
I
of
think it's officially supported. And then
Yeah.
there's a new lightweight wireless manager. So like the Pico W is a great example where you can download library files that you need through the internet. They don't have drag and drop file support. They don't do mass storage what we do. So it's extra useful for.
What's great is you can pick
Yep.
depending on what you want to do. And that brings us to so MicroPython, we're one of the financial supporters. We support it with code. This is where CircuitPython came from. MicroPython is celebrating its 10th year, its birthday. So we'll get the noise out about that. We're a sponsor on GitHub. And so if you use MicroPython, check out the GitHub sponsors and toss them a buck or two. It keeps the development going.
It definitely helps.
It's what we build our core off of. And as they celebrate their latest year, they have one of these cool here's all the pull requests.
Yeah,
and
commits and who's
you can
contributing.
visualize it, which is really neat. So you can see like kind of what's happened over the last decade. But this year they had a really neat poster, and you can download it. We link to it, but let's just go through this here. They go from the early days, 2013. That's when we all ran into
The
it.
Kickstarter, yeah.
Yeah, the Kickstarter. Then they had MicroPython Pi boards for everyone. They did 2 talks at Python UK. In 2015, MicroPython went to space. So they had MicroPython on embedded systems that were in rockets, that were in satellites. And then other news, and this is where we come in, 2017,
Yeah.
that's when CircuitPython started. So we've been, keeping up with the changes, and then also making MicroPython work for our hardware and lots of different hardware. And 2018, they announced the PyBoard D. I think MicroPython got some type of space qualification.
Yeah, it's cool.
They did a modular system with their boards to make it
Yeah,
easier.
you could plug in little like there's LED add-ons and like
Yeah.
wireless add-ons. It was
And
cool.
then we did CircuitPython. And then 2020, Pybricks. 2021, that's when some of the RP2040 stuff came along. And then kind of big news for folks who play along. In 2023, apparently there's going to be another platform supported.
Ambic,
Yeah.
who does Bluetooth, very low power Bluetooth. Very interesting.
Yeah.
They picked that platform. We've never done stuff with Ambic. We use Nordic for Bluetooth and ESP32 and RP2040, but you know what? It's great to have more chips supported.
Yeah. And then we'll see what we do in CircuitPython with that. It's all part of Adafruit Daily newsletter, delivered to you every single week. Adafruitdaily.com. We do not do anything with your email address, and we don't spam you. Have a completely separate site. Just to make sure.
Correct.
It's super clear. We don't like spam even more than you don't like spam. Let's keep going. We're an open source hardware company, LadyAda. We talked about this before. We have a bunch of open source hardware stuff going on.
Yeah.
To prove it.
Let's chat about the guides because I'm a little bit behind on the guide reviews.
Yeah, to prove it, we have a bunch of. I'm gonna just do this until the graphics show up.
Yeah,
it did.
No, resize it.
No, I don't. Going.
Your Chrome is out of
No,
order.
it's Safari. Safari is.
Oh,
I'm
Safari.
fighting Safari this week.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways,
Sorry.
we have a bunch of guides.
Good thing it's not live. Can edit that out. And
We have a bunch of guides. I was
Okay.
fighting with a browser. Okay.
All right.
What we got?
So scroll down just a teeny bit so I can see which ones are or I can scroll.
No, we don't want
Okay, no, go back up. See, this is okay, stop. Okay, so we've got over here, we've got JP's friend worked, I guess, on the set for Picard, and made these cool like Alcars panel for the Star Trek Picard set. And he got to take one home, or maybe he stole one. I don't know. Or maybe there was one that didn't make it into the set and he was working on it. And JP offered to make a cool display that would highlight this panel. And the original way these panels were backlit was like dozens of little incandescent lights that would light up the back through like you know, a long tube, so it would like look very diffused. But he didn't want to do that to, you know, make this easy to build. So he actually just put two matrix portals, matrix portal and two 64 by 64 LED matrices behind it, and then mapped the pixels out to different sections and put a diffuser so it actually like lights up each section. And if you think about it, it's actually non-trivial to do this if you've got only a panel that has cut out parts, like it's only, you know, it's colored in differently in different parts. But he did a really great guide, and I think useful for anybody who wants to do like cell animation backlighting or wants to just light up certain
That's a good
sections.
idea. You can get those cells from like cartoons like
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Okay. Circuit Playground, Adafruit Playground Notes is what we're calling the user pages, because user pages is kind of a boring name. You'll see more rebranding on that. Anybody can write guides on our learning system. It doesn't appear on the front page, but you can have your own guides, as many as you want, to share content, to put your notes. It's a really great authoring tool. Like, it's written for me, and I'm very picky, and it's free. So you can check that out. And of course, it generates PDFs as well. I've also got a couple new guides. The Feather. So you want to scroll just a little. No, up so you can see the text. Okay. So the Feather RP2040 with USB host. Liz wrote a guide on that. This is, you know, a very rare find. It's a microcontroller board that you can program it and debug it through one USB port and then connect a separate device on the USB port. So keyboards and mice you can plug in, mass storage devices, disk drives. Also USB serials support like FT232H, FT232RL, or CP2104 is also supported or about to be supported. So you can connect to devices that have serial. So like you can do quite a bit. Normally you'd have to have a Linux computer to do this, but maybe if you have a simple enough program, you can connect directly over USB. Just a reminder, it only works in Arduino at this time because it's very complicated. And in a mega guide, I'm making PCB jewelry and art. If you saw show and tell, she was showing them off, beautiful earrings. She always used to come to meetings with these like floppy disk earrings, and I'm like, I know you got those, and they're very cool, but you should make your own. So she showed how to make little non-functional, like it doesn't do any electronics, but it's made out of circuit board material, using gingerbread, which is this very cool web software that then you can draw, and it like does all the color mapping for you, and then you export it into KiCad, which is where you would maybe add some electronics. So very useful for people making synthesizer panels or badges or PCB jewelry. And there's going to be more to come from Anne. She's learning a lot. So keep scrolling. Go scroll one thingy up.
One
Okay.
chunk.
Last week we talked about the WeatherWise Wi-Fi umbrella stand from Erin. It's a project. It just uses a Pico W and some NeoPixels and lets you know when she got this like cool glass jar that's really big, so you can use it as an umbrella stand. It tells you when to grab your umbrella when you're leaving the house because it's likely to rain in the next couple hours. We've got a huge guide by Trevor about Fog Glider. It's our iOS and Android app that allows you to write files over Bluetooth or Wi-Fi to your CircuitPython devices. Simon Monk wrote a guide about his plant monitor. He has a really like a multi-purpose capacitive touch, temperature, humidity measuring plugin board that is meant for no solder required, and he has a CircuitPython library. You also have MicroPython and I think Arduino. So good for like any use you want to build plant projects. Known Pedro, there's a video they did a case for that Feather RP2040 USB host. So yeah, especially if you're not connecting any other hardware, you just want to plug and play and do some HID translation. This case will be handy, and it's got straps and it's got little live hinge buttons. Okay, do one more.
One more chunk.
One more chunk. The Feather, this is the one I forgot. The Feather RP2040 DVI video synth It's based off of, we did this guide a couple weeks ago, the Pico DVI guide, which is how to use the DVI output on the Feather DVI, which can connect to HDMI monitors. And this guide is just like, okay, how to display shapes, text, and get it going. But then Liz took it up to 11 and made a very cool video synth with 4 knobs and multiple buttons and a lot of really cool video synth designs written in Arduino. And if you want to do like cool display art that maybe takes sensor data or uses knobs, something that's very hard to build to make something small and portable, if you want to do video synthesizers, is very, very easy now with the DVI Feather.
Okay. Them's our guides for the week.
And last week.
And last week. All right, let's do some factory footage. And that's factory footage. Let's do some 3D printing. I have to come up with a sound for this. Actually, maybe. Okay, this week in 3D printing, we're going to play these back to back. This is the USB host video and this cool like browser ring.
The Feather RP2040 now has USB host support for making and hacking USB devices. With 2 USB ports, you can upload, debug, and have data communication, but also send and receive data to just about any USB device at the same time. It could also be used to emulate a USB host peripheral. This Feather features the RP2040 chip, 21 GPIO, 8 MB of SPI flash, and USB Type-C and Type-A ports. Our 3D printed case is designed to snap fit together and secures the Feather without any screws. It features actuators for the reset and boot buttons, and the back features a slot for wires and mounting. The USB ports are easily accessible, so you can plug in just about any USB device. You can use Arduino and the Tiny USB library to read information from an attached USB HID device. Just install and load the demo sketch in Arduino to see a USB device's info using the serial monitor. Here we tested a USB gamepad from 8BitDo and an Apple Magic keyboard. Be sure to check out the Product Learn Guide for more code examples and documentation. We hope this inspires you to try out the new Feather RP2040 USB host for your next project.
And don't forget, before you pop over to INPI, the code is CanFeather. You get all this free stuff too. Let's kick it off with some INPI. This week, INPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. It's Cree LEDs.
That's right.
LadyAda, what is Cree LEDs? What do they make? What do they do?
Well, they make gigantic bright LEDs. They're also known for Cree lighting, makes finished LED lighting structures and lamps. But today we're going to be talking about, and I'd like to get the part number correct. It's the XLamp XP G3 Photofill Select LEDs. That's the
Okay.
XP G3. So these are LEDs. I love the name photofill. I mean, that's a cool name.
That's what they call me when I take photos.
Yes,
They call
photofill.
me photofill.
So photofill LEDs are designed for horticulture. They're meant for grow lights, and they're specifically tuned for the light frequencies that plants respond to best. Because if you are going to be using LEDs to
So LED grow lights.
it's LED grow lights, but if you're using LEDs to grow plants, I mean, of course, the sun is free, but in some cases, maybe you
But
can't.
the sun has all sorts of extra wavelengths. Maybe you don't need those.
Maybe you don't need them. And so in this case, you can get binned LEDs that are specifically designed for LED grow lights. Now, you might be thinking, wait, Creed, those are
That's what I
like
was thinking.
the evil characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe that are technologically advanced and they have blue skin. No. This is Cree LED, and they're well known. I've definitely used Cree LEDs multiple times. They're famous for really, really high quality LEDs that last a very long time, are binned and like very, very bright and customizable. And they're very, very good for indoor white lighting, especially. But they also do different LED colors. You're often not going to use Cree LEDs for like little indicators. You're going to use them when you want illumination, like you want a lot of light to flood something, not just notify you. So for example, these are some of the LEDs they have. This is X-Lamp series, which is like the package, available in just a blue color with a typical frequency range of 451, which is blue. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the Cree future science fiction race found these LEDs. They were so blue, turned them blue, and then
This is how it started.
yeah, they started fighting the marbles. Okay, but anyways, back to horticulture LEDs. So this series of LEDs are designed for whenever using LEDs to assist or to be the primary light source for plants. They've made LEDs before that people use. A lot of people just use kind of like these generic LEDs, not specified for. You'd use the frequency ranges that, and I'll mention it later, which frequencies, but they weren't tuned specifically for like the different ratios of red, green, and blue, whereas these LEDs are tuned specifically for that. And the reason that's useful and what people use Cree LEDs for is they're binned. That's like they're specified and you're going to get the specification, because when you're making an LED, you have the P and the N type of doped silicon material. You put them together, and in that boundary where the P type and the N type go, when the electrons and holes pass through, they jump down from one level to another level, and they emit that power as light. And you can tune and tweak that frequency that they emit. So like the first LEDs used doped silicon with aluminum gallium arsenide, or maybe it was a gallium phosphide, I don't remember. And so you'd have red LEDs, and those were the first ones. And then as people tried different materials, like gallium 3 phosphide, or sorry, aluminum gallium indium phosphide, you could get greens or zinc selenide, or in GaN-N, indium gallium nitride. You could get violets and ultraviolet. So you get different frequencies. But in general, when you're buying a red LED and you're paying, a penny or two for a red LED, you're going to get something. You see here the lambda, the wavelength is between, about 600 to 700 nanometers. It's not going to be precise, and you're not going to get matching between the LEDs. You're going to get something approximate. And that's why it's so cheap, right? You're not paying for high precision. You just want something where the red LED on your microcontroller board or your indicator just lights up and it's close enough. And so a lot of low cost LEDs, even ones that are illuminating, they're not going to be matched. Like you're going to get whatever brightness and whatever came off of that disc when they diced up that silicon, the PN junction. You're going to get whatever came off of that plate, and each plate might be a little bit different, and that's kind of your problem. When you have plants and you've got these green leaves and they're absorbing the light, and they're using that light to convert the carbon dioxide into oxygen. It also takes nutrients from the soil, water, and that using all the hydrocarbons and the light to convert them, turns it into energy that the plant can use, and then when maybe we eat. In those cases, the frequency of light that's coming from the sun, now the sun happens to be a pretty broad spectrum, but not every frequency is used. There's certain frequencies that are absorbed much better. So you can see, I was kind of reading about this on Wikipedia. Because I sort of assumed like you want the widest band light, but actually you don't. You sort of want this, you want like a non-linear wave where it's kind of centered around the visible spectrum, but it's not perfectly linear. And so like you kind of want a lot of red and you want blue, and then green is useful, but it's not like the most. And so, a lot of people use just red and blue light. And so you can see the LED light panel on the top right there from a NASA experiment. So you can see space is becoming important here. This is when the Kree aliens race learned about this.
Yes.
They found our potato plants.
That's right.
That's right. And they love these Kree LEDs. But the amount of radiation, the frequency of the radiation is important, and it does affect how the plant grows. And different plants have different radiation. And like if you have the sun again, it's free. Who cares? But if you're going to be paying for the electricity for these lights, and you have to pay for the LEDs, you want to get the most bang for your buck. You want to get the most efficient transmission of electrical energy into photonic energy that will be absorbed and then turned into plant energy, whether that's corn or flowers or basil, what have you. And there's a lot of papers actually. There's a whole journal called Hortiscience, and there was like dozens of articles in it about different LEDs, and they tested all the different frequencies and ratios between the LEDs and brightnesses and what types to try to tune it, because there's actually there's a lot of investment in it, because a lot of people are moving from halide lamps or fluorescent lights to LEDs, because you don't have to change the bulbs, they don't burn out, they don't really dim over time. They're a little bit more expensive, but like once you buy them, you're set, and they run for a decade or plus. LED lights, they're not, they don't last forever, but they last a lot longer than an incandescent bulb. So the photofill select LEDs have red and blue, and then you can tweak the amount of green, and you'd also, I guess, add a separate photo red LED if necessary. And so you don't actually want white, like a pure white color. You actually want this kind of ratio mix of green and blue. And to be honest, I delved into this for a few hours, but you can go on for years and study this, and I'm assuming that Kree, in their wisdom, figured out the exact ratios that most people are interested in. And so these are the distributions they have of the different lights. So there's 3 versions, 2, 2.5, and 3. And they basically, looks like there's a peak about 450 nanometers. And that's where you're going to get more or less relative radiant light compared to the more blue ratio. So this is the order codes. So you're going to get the green blue ratio, how much green versus blue. Some plants, I guess, do better with more green. Again, when you buy 2-3 cent LEDs, it's called green. They're going to give you the material. You're going to get it somewhere within, the brightness that you think it is. When you buy Cree LEDs, what you're paying for is that guarantee that you're going to get the exact frequency and the exact power output that's going to match. It's a little bit more expensive, but then you don't have to go back and rework it when the LED dies, because the Cree LEDs are just designed to last a lot longer and deal with the thermal load of lighting a huge grow light. And second, they're going to get the binning that you're expecting, and this ratio is going to be precise. And the way they do it, of course, is they make all the LEDs and they test them, and then they sort the LEDs out. So, rather than trying to control the doping, which they do also, they'll bin them after manufacture, and so you'll get everything on the reel is going to be the same match. These LEDs are very bright. You'll notice under the DC forward current, it's 2 amps, right? That's the maximum current range. So these are very small and they're extremely bright. Definitely do not look into them with the remaining eye you have. The forward voltage of, it says if you run at about a watt, it's about 3 volts. So you'll definitely need a LED driving current management system. You can't just put a resistor on them. It's 2 amps. You're going to want, buck converters, and you probably want to have them all in series. So maybe you boost it and have a very high voltage so you can control the current going through a string of LEDs. Because you're going to be pushing 2 amps through them, there's also a very specific footprint for the copper and how you want the paste to be deposited. There's also a lot written about how to design products using these LEDs. They're very small for the amount of power going through them. Aluminum backed LEDs are strongly recommended. You might need heat sinking. And you know, depending on how big your heat sink, you might even need active cooling. So you might need a fan, not a very powerful fan, not as powerful as you need for HID lights, but definitely something to kind of move the air through, because even though LEDs last a very, very long time, they the bonding wires in the substrate won't last if it's overheated too much.
Available on DigiKey.
That's right. They're in stock. All the different bins, but this is the one we picked out. And I'll just show it on the overhead to show you how small it is. It's a very small LED, so think about putting 2 amps through that. It's going to get really hot. So you're going to definitely have to think about how you're going to heat sink this. Don't just plop it on a PCB and think you're going to be happy. You're going to be, it's, you know, it'll actually get so hot it might desolder itself.
And there's a video, and then we'll wrap up Ion MPI.
Hi, my name is Derek Miller. I'm the R&D Applications Group Manager here at Cree LED. Here, you're looking at our new J-Series 3-volt G-Class LED optimized for horticultural lighting that we call PhotoFill Select. In this LED, we were able to optimize the phosphor mixture so that you can pair it with our XPGDS Photo Red to get the highest efficiency horticultural LED solution available now. This fixture behind me has 1152 PhotoFill Select mid-power LEDs mixed with 48 XPGDS high-power Photo Red LEDs. In this fixture, we were able to demonstrate up to 3.25 ppf per watt efficiency. This fixture has a 2-channel tunable solution so you can get exactly the amount of red that your plants need. Our PhotoFill Select LEDs are available in 2 different recipes, with both a high green to blue ratio and a low green to blue ratio. By selecting the 2 different recipes of green to blue ratios, you can mix and match to get exactly the spectrum that you want.
On MPI.
Okay, lady, it is time for new products. What's up?
Okay, well, this is a back in stock. It's not even a revision, but I know people have been waiting like almost a year for these. The Feather M4s, which I love, the SAMD51 chip is so powerful. This Cortex M4 processor and FPU, it's great. We got a lot of products and projects that are using the SAMD51 series, and we got a shipment of reels in, and so we were able to get some Feather M4 Expresses out the door. So they're in stock. I think last I checked, we had about 1,000 left. I don't know when we're gonna get our next shipment of SAMD 51. So if you need the Feather M4 for something, please do get it soon.
It's 10% off too.
You can overclock the heck out of this. It's a great chip. So yeah, this is your FYI. Next up, we have a revision to the MLX 9393. Melexis was hit very hard by the chip shortage, and a lot of their sensors were not available, but one version of this chip is available, and I could get a reel of chips. It's the same magnetometer, but the I2C address is different. So I think the default used to be OXOC, C in hexadecimal, and now it's 18 hexadecimal. So the code's all the same, the sensor's the same, everything's the same except the default I2C address is different. I thought it was worth it to get them, and you know, even though it's annoying to have to change the code examples to use a different address, and it's a little confusing, we do print it on the bags now, so the bag says it's address X18. I thought it would be worth it just to get it back in stock so people could use this very nice, very wide range magnetometer.
All right, star of the show tonight, besides you, LadyAda, our team, our customers, is
The Can Feather, which is also the code.
yeah.
So really, I'm cranking out these RP2040 boards with different peripherals on the right-hand side. I always wanted a board that had CAN bus built in for easy plug and play, no solder CAN projects. And the RP2040 Feather is a great place to start that. So it's got your classic RP2040 chipset. That's a dual core Cortex M0 ARM processor, nice chip. We pair that with 8 megabytes of QSPI flash. So you'll use that for your program or your files. That's kind of the middle top area there. You've got boot and reset buttons, so you can enter the bootloader, and the reset button, of course, you can reset whenever you want. It's got USB Type-C for data and uploading firmware. and debugging. LiPo battery built in with battery charging through USB-C, so you can take this project on the go. There's a STEMMA QT port as well, and then in the Feather pinout is standard. It's got 21 GPIO pins, and 4 of them are analog, and 2 I2C ports, and 2 SPIs, and 2 UARTs. So it's got a lot of stuff going on with it. Great for use with Arduino, MicroPython, or CircuitPython. And then what I did is on the right-hand side, I stuck a MCP 25625, and you're like, I've never heard of it. Yeah, it's basically a chip that has inside of it an MCP 2515, which is a very, very popular CAN controller, plus a CAN transceiver. They just took those 2 chips and they squished it and they called it the 25625. But the firmware you would run on it is MCP 2515. Like firmware wise, what the code you'd run for this chip controller is like the most popular CAN controller. We've got Arduino code for it. There's CircuitPython. I think MicroPython also has code for it. Pretty much any programming language is going to have code for that CAN controller because it's the most popular one in the world. There's also a little switch capped boost converter above it that'll generate the 5 volts, so you can do CAN bus with 5 volt power because it's a 5 volt power, 5 volt logic interface. So the Feather is still running at 3.3 volts, but it has the 5 volt necessary to do the CAN controlling. There is a terminator, a 120 ohm terminator, which you can disable by cutting that trace. You need at least 1 termination on your CAN bus. And then 3 terminal blocks, low, ground, and high. So now you can plug into any CAN bus, which is a differential signal system. You have a shared ground, which is handy, and then low and high, and then, terminal screw on how many wires you want to shove in there. And they're pre-soldered, so it's a new thing. I'm trying to get more boards where you don't have to do any soldering. It's plug and play. If you'd like to use it on a breadboard, you can solder headers that comes with, I think this photo shows it. Yeah, we toss some headers in, but if you don't want to use the headers, you just want to do CAN, you're ready to go. And again, we've got Arduino and CircuitPython code. And we also have U2IF, which is a software that runs, a firmware that runs on the RP2040 and allows you to use your computer to connect to CAN devices. So it acts as a USB to CAN bridge, which is very handy. And then of course, if you want to add sensors, so if you want to make a CAN node with sensors, we have a STEMMA QT port. You can plug in almost any of the many hundreds of STEMMA QT or Quick or PicoDev boards that come with the connector.
Okay, before we do some questions, don't forget to coach CanFeather. We're going to do some top secret, but put your questions up in Discord. Don't forget adafruit.it/Discord. That's the only place where you can do the questions because we have multiple streams going everywhere, so please put them there. Let's do some top secret and post up your questions while we do that. All right, LadyAda, what is this?
These are slim Kale chalk style switches. These are very low profile switches compared to most MX style keycap and switches. And we've got a little breakout that we designed for them. This one has a NeoPixel that goes through. Let me show it. It's got a socket so you can connect either linear or clicky style. There's that glow through NeoPixel. And then you get keycaps as well. And then we've got a diode so you can matrix these and breakouts all over the place so you can breadboard these very easily. So an update to our existing MX compatible Neo key. This is the Neo key Chalk. Chalk.
All right, LadyAda, what is this?
This is my new updated tester for our Feather RP2040 with RFM 9X LoRa. I did this board before and I had this module kind of like dangling off these pins here and I wanted to clean it up a little bit. And one of the things I added to our Brains tester board is this iSpy connector. And this has SPI and I2C and lots of GPIO. So it's got way more pins than just these because it's a tightly packed connector. And then over here you see I have a LoRa module and this antenna are coaxial. And so when I put this board down and I do the test, the RP2040 programs the client board, the Feather, and then communicates with the LoRa module, sending data back and forth at hello world, and makes sure that the signal strength is correct. So this is a nice fast test for our new Feather LoRa boards.
All All right, LadyAda, what's this?
This is me testing out our Seesaw NeoPixel driver. So this is a board that connects over I2C, and it has a ATtiny 816 here. And then there's terminal blocks to connect to NeoPixels. So here I've got one wired up to this extremely long, well, there's a lot of pixels, it's not physically long, but a lot of pixels, like 200 pixels per meter LED strip. And it's being controlled over I2C using Python 3. So we've got a CircuitPython library, and it's doing all these NeoPixel animations. And what's interesting is that, yes, this is a Raspberry Pi, and we could run NeoPixels directly from it. But because this is I2C, this will work on any single board computer or device, even if it doesn't have NeoPixel bitbang timing support. You can just send the commands over I2C, and it's converted to NeoPixels.
And that's top secret of the week. Okay, we're gonna answer your questions. I gotta do a question song thing too. I wonder, maybe the Riddler had a song like "Riddle Me." Yeah, instead of all these question marks, or it could be that infomercial guy that's like, "You can make money from the government." He had all the question marks on his suit. Anyways, LadyAda, why don't you start reading these off? Start with that one.
Okay, question. I have a robotic product needing a 4-wire stepper driver to 1-wire PWM. I have a teeny PCB solution for something like that. It's a tiny, tiny camera stepper to stuff into a toy tank. I think the smallest 4-wire stepper drivers you can get are the ones, like the little ones that are used for 3D printers. They're pretty tiny, and you can just solder into the 4 pads, and then you just send it like little step messages. It's not 1 wire, but it's like only 2 or 3 wires required. Okay, next up, any ETs on mag tags? We love them. Yes, the e-ink display unfortunately got discontinued, and I have to rewrite the driver for a new chip. And
is it going to be part of the 300?
Yeah, it is. It's
a minor redesign, but more on the way.
It's a bigger redesign because I have to rewrite all the firmware code, and it's I got a couple samples, but all of them are like, yeah, we support grayscale, but it's like they don't really. It's a little lie.
Okay, thanks up.
Any tips for low power Arduino use, specifically ATtiny 841? I'm getting about 500 microamps in sleep mode with the ADC off. Is that reasonable? In light sleep mode, 500 microamps seems reasonable. I think a deep sleep should probably be a little bit more like 100 microamps or 50 microamps, I'd imagine, for the ATtiny 841. So maybe check you have all your peripherals off. You don't have any current leakage, and then you want to go to deep sleep mode. They'll get you the most current. But if it's a light sleep, yeah, 0.5 milliamps about right.
Okay, I can answer the AdaBox stuff. So we put out a video just like a month or so ago. AdaBox is shipping this year. As you can tell, we're slowly collecting all of the parts that we finally got, getting all of the boxes ready. We'll do an announcement when we know for sure, because if we say any date at all whatsoever, it'll be like, where's my spy camera? Where's my spy camera? Where's my spy camera? But it'll be shipping soon, and we're going to be back to shipping AdaBoxes on a regular basis, and we have some surprises and more. But it is just recovery from kind of the worst time ever over the last few years. Not only with the lockdowns and just everything that happened, but then we had a chip shortage that was kind of never ending. And then we
did 300 redesigns. Yeah. I had to give birth.
Yeah. There was that too. And we have that video of the 300 thing. Like literally there's some products that most of the components had to be replaced.
Yeah.
So is it the same? Is it even the same product? Who knows?
We've taken it from like 80% to almost 95% of it.
Getting back,
which is really good.
Let's see if there's anything else before we go. I think that's it. That's our show for tonight, everybody.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, right on the dot. Don't forget the code is CanFeather. That'll get you 10% off in the store all the way up to midnight-ish. Special thanks to Takara, who's running things behind the scenes. Thank you, Takara. We're going to play out. This has been Adafruit production. Then I have like a little funny video at the end if you want to see. See everybody next week. Here's your moment of Zener.